On this week's episode, football plays its home opener against East Carolina, women's volleyball takes on Clemson, and women's soccer hosts ECU. This is Capital City Sports. Hello and welcome to Capital City Sports. I'm Pat Clowney. The Gamecock football team played its home opener against East Carolina Saturday afternoon in front of a packed Williams-Brice Stadium, at least for the first half. Hunter Banks was there. Let's send it to him.
Gamecocks coming into the game against ECU with a 1-0 record after beating Vandy last week. Get off to a good start as Dylan Thompson hits Demir Bird for 53 yards down to the ECU 6-yard line. Demir showing off his trademark speed. Marcus Lattimore, Laddie Daddy, is going to take it in from there, putting the Gamecocks up 7-0 early. And with that touchdown, Lattimore ties George Rogers and Harold Green for the career touchdown record at 33. Here, Dylan Thompson is going to hit Busta Anderson up the middle for a gain of 17 yards, and that's going to set up this play, which is going to go to Busta Anderson. It's going to be a 7-yard touchdown, putting the Gamecocks, up 14-0. And the next time the Gamecocks get the ball, Dylan Thompson, who's he going to find? D'Angelo Smith for 30 yards in the back of the end zone. Looks a lot like Alshon Jeffrey to me. Maybe we have a replacement. Gamecocks up 21-0. And on the next drive, Pirate quarterback Rio Johnson throws it deep, but Bryson Williams is there, comes down with the interception. Gamecocks take over at the ECU 7. But the Gamecocks were forced to punt. ECU gets the ball back here. Rio Johnson connects, but the wide receiver fumbles. Reginald Bowings forces it. And the refs are trying to figure out who has the ball. They're uncovering the pile. And wait for it. Wait for it. Up pops Reginald Bowings with the ball, Gamecock football. Again, here Rio Johnson's going to drop back, and it's another Gamecock interception, this time by DJ Swearinger. Gamecocks take over at the ECU 37. Nice celebration. DJ's got some swag to him. I like it. And guess what happens here? It's probably another Gamecock interception. Yes, it is. Shaq Wilson coming up with this one. Again, Gamecocks taking over in ECU territory. And they'd capitalize as Thompson evades a sack, pulls a Eli Manning from the Super Bowl, and finds D.L. Moore, who gets a key block from Justice Cunningham there, and D.L. finds the end zone, puts the Gamecocks up 28-0. The final score would end up being Gamecocks 48, East Carolina 10. Hunter Banks, Capital City Sports.
Dylan Thompson and the Carolina offense was firing on all cylinders Saturday afternoon. For a closer look, we sent it to the guys in the boardroom.
Welcome to this week's episode of Capital City Sports. My name is Alyssa Lang. I'm joined by Hunter Banks. We're going to start by talking about none other than Gamecock football, and we'll start by breaking down the offense from the game against ECU this past week. Let's start with talking about something that we kind of talked about a little bit last week with the quarterback controversy between an injured Connor Shaw and our second string Dylan Thompson.
Yeah.
We are we are guilty of
We're
saying
sorry, Dylan. That's what we're trying to say. Is we were haters. We didn't think you had it in you. I thought we'd have Seth Strickland in there by halftime. So, Dylan, I apologize. A 330-yard passing game has turned me into a believer.
So Dylan Thompson kind of exceeded our expectations of what was going to happen versus ECU in the 48-10 blowout this past Saturday. Now, something that may have helped Dylan Thompson's confidence a little bit was what happened in the hotel room before the game that morning, before they even got to the stadium. All the receivers and tight ends showed up in Dylan Thompson's hotel room. Talk about that and what happened during that little impromptu team meeting.
Well, first of all, I didn't even know they stayed in a hotel room the night before. Did you know that?
You didn't? I knew that, yeah.
I didn't know that.
To get off campus from the craziness.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
it
it makes sense, but I don't know. I guess I never thought about it. But yeah, the wide receivers and the tight ends came into his room that morning and basically told him, you know, dude, don't even worry about it. Just throw us the ball. We got your back. We're not going to let you down. And 330 yards later, it worked.
And he definitely made a point in the post-game press conference to say that helped his confidence a lot going into this past Saturday.
Yeah, he said he gave credit to, first of all, God, and second of all, Coach Spurrier and quarterbacks coach G.A. Mangus. And Spurrier gave him a Bible verse that also helped lift his spirit. And I like to refer to Dylan Thompson as our Tim Tebow. He's very religious, which
very much so.
Some may think is a bad thing, but I personally think is a wonderful thing.
Well, you could kind of say that overcoming ECU was a bit of a milestone for Dylan Thompson, but another player who had a milestone this past Saturday was Marcus Lattimore. He tied a school record for touchdowns at 33, scoring his 33rd touchdown this past Saturday. Talk about what kind of game Marcus Lattimore had this past Saturday.
Yeah, he tied, well, let's first talk about his record. It's a pretty big record. He tied George Rogers and Harold Green, two legends. Rogers obviously was our Heisman Trophy winner and #1 overall draft pick from the 80s. But it's a big record, 33 career touchdowns. I mean, that doesn't come easy.
Right.
So that was definitely a good thing for him. But other than that, that was his only touchdown. He only had 40 yards. And he got pulled out of the game sooner than he does most games because they didn't need him. Dylan Thompson was getting the ball downfield. The receivers and tight ends were taking care of business. And the coaches didn't want to worry about him injuring his knee again or possibly injuring something else. So they plugged Kenny Miles in, and Kenny had an all right game, though he did get outrushed by Dylan Thompson.
Right. Both running backs had a decent game. Lattimore rushing for a total of 40 yards. Kenny rushing for a total of 30.
They got it done.
Right.
We didn't need them, and they did what we needed them to do.
Exactly. It wasn't too much of a struggle, but it wasn't that important for them to succeed against ECU. But someone who really did have a great game on the receiving end of the ball was tight end Busta, not Buster.
And not Rory.
Anderson.
It's Busta, B-U-S-T-A.
Yes.
No, he had a great game. 4 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Right.
It's always great to see him have a great game. I'm a big fan of tight ends because they also put in the grunt work on the line.
Right.
Blocking. I remember Justice Cunningham had a pretty big block to set up the D.L. Moore touchdown. So it's good for them to get on the stat sheet. But what I took away from Busta's performance was look out Justice Cunningham because Justice is our #1 tight end, and he may not be anymore.
Yeah, Busta is definitely looking like he will be climbing the ranks very quickly.
Yes.
Especially after the game he had this past Saturday. Well, that'll do it for us analyzing offense. Come back in a few minutes where we'll break down the defense against ECU.
Coming up, women's volleyball takes the court against Clemson, and we head back to the boardroom to break down the defense. Stay with us. Women's volleyball hosted in-state rival Clemson on Friday night in front of one of the largest crowds in team history. I was at the match. Let's take a look at the highlight.
Women's volleyball took on Clemson at the volleyball competition facility on Friday night. They played in front of the 3rd largest crowd in the building's history. First set, the Lady Gamecocks get off to a nice start with this drop shot by Juliet Thavinen. Then it's Darian Dozer with the big block. Clemson would soon retaliate, ignited by this huge kill by Mo Simmons. Then later, it's Sandra Adilier with another great strike. But Carolina had a response with the big block by Bethany Thomas. Set point for Carolina, but Clemson is able to fight it off on this Kristen Faust kill. Carolina would get another try, and Kara Howley makes it count as she drives the kill into the ground. Lady Gamecocks take the first set. Clemson started the second half strong as Mo Williams drives one off the hands of the Carolina blockers. Then it's Williams with the serve off the net and down for the ace. She was huge for Clemson. But once again, Carolina comes back as it's Taylor Bruns with the kill, and she is pumped. And then Jenna Allen serving knocks this shot off the net for an ace of her own. USC had an answer for every Clemson attack. Here, it's Juliet Thavinen with the kill for Clemson. But that was followed by this great play for the Gamecocks as they get the long bump to go over the net, and Natalie Patson can't handle it for Clemson. Set point for Carolina now. They get the block on Serenette Yaz to finish it off. The Lady Gamecocks lead 2-0. The third set was all USC. Clemson's shot goes long to give Carolina the point. They scored the first 5 of the set. Later, it's Christina Verib, fresh off the bench with a great block. You can see her excitement. And then match point. Clemson can't handle the return shot. Carolina takes the match 3-0. The Lady Gamecocks went on to defeat UAB and Winthrop on Saturday to sweep the Carolina Clash. From the VCF, I'm Pat Clowney, Capital City Sports.
The USC defense looked strong against East Carolina. For more on that, let's send it back to the boardroom.
Welcome back to Capital City Sports. Now we're going to break down the defensive side of the ball from the ECU game this past weekend. Let's start with a very important aspect of our defense with Jadeveon Clowney. He had an injury. Not a lot of people knew about that. A rib contusion. Will he be okay to come back this Saturday against UAB?
Yeah, most likely. But first, let's go ahead and clarify what a rib contusion is. It's basically just a bruise. Which causes a lot more problems than you would think, because every time you breathe, your ribs are moving. So every time he breathes, it hurts. And being an athlete, he's breathing a lot more than others during games. And, you know, it causes more issues than people think it would, but, you know, he should be ready. If not, it's not that big of a deal.
Were you expecting to see a little more out of him again this weekend? Because I know we were kind of disappointed with what we saw versus Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I was very disappointed.
As far as him and Devin Taylor also.
Well, who's Devin Taylor? I don't even know who that is anymore.
I know what his hair looks like.
Oh, his hair is awesome. It's all, I don't know what color to describe it. It's like a garnet, red, purpley mixture. It's all spiky and junk, and it's like his shtick, you know, like he's always changing his hair.
His thing.
And yeah, it's his thing, and it's just, it's always kind of outrageous, and I like it because he's kind of a quiet guy, so he's got loud hair. He balances things out.
Okay, then.
But yeah, back to Clowney. I expected a lot more from him. I didn't really see anything from him, and I mean, I didn't even know when he got hurt. Like I said, I don't think it'll make that much difference because he hasn't been there much so far this year.
Right. Well, someone who was there definitely without a doubt versus ECU was Jimmy Legree, who had an interception, and then on top of this beautiful interception, a 34-yard return for a touchdown. Talk about what that was like.
Yeah, it was a great play. The play before, he had forced a fumble and recovered the fumble, but they reviewed it and overturned it. And on the next play, he just decided, he was like, I'm going to jump this route, and it worked. And he went 34 yards for the pick six, and it was beautiful. I love seeing a pick six. It doesn't happen often. Always makes the fans exciting. What few fans were left.
Very true. The student section did empty out pretty early on,
yeah.
But we'll get to that a little bit later. overall, though, ECU's offense definitely did not help them. 5 total turnovers, 4 interceptions, and 1 fumble, all recovered by the Gamecocks, obviously. That definitely did not help the Pirates.
Yeah, they had 3 series in a row where the ECU, drive ended on an interception.
Right.
Which was great for the defense, but one drawback to the defense was ECU still had over 400 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They only had 10 points to show for it, but 400 yards is too much against an East Carolina Pirate football team.
Right. Well, we're hoping that the defense will be able to step up and do something similar against UAB this coming weekend. But when we come back, we will break down our preview and our predictions for what we think will happen with the Gamecocks game this Saturday at Williams-Brice against University of Alabama at Birmingham.
After the break, women's soccer battles ECU, and the guys in the boardroom preview the UAB game. We'll be right back. Women's soccer hosted ECU at Stone Stadium on Sunday. Alyssa Lang was there. She has your highlight.
The Lady Gamecocks came in to battle the ECU Pirates at the Graveyard on Saturday, September 9th. The game was full of possession changes, but mostly stayed in the middle third of the pitch. The Gamecocks held possession of the ball for the majority of the game, charging the goal 3 times in the first 15 minutes, as opposed to 0 charges for ECU. The offense had multiple missed attempts attacking the goal out of the midfield, but suffered many missed and blocked shots by ECU goalkeeper Christiane Cordero. The Lady Gamecocks defense held strong all day, mostly keeping their boots on the center line of the pitch. The Pirates got into attacking position just twice in the first half, but were never able to score any goals against South Carolina. But the Gamecock offense continued to push and attack the Pirates' goal, passing the ball through ECU defenders until finally, Courtney Ngati-Smith put one in the net. Raina Johnson scored the second goal for the Gamecocks, followed by Ngati-Smith's second goal, which was the last for South Carolina. The final score was a 3-0 win for the Lady Gamecocks. For Capital City Sports, I'm Alyssa Lang.
After a stellar performance, the football team hopes to continue its winning ways against UAB this weekend. For a preview of that game, let's send it to the boardroom one more time.
Welcome back. We're in the boardroom again talking Gamecock football, of course. Now we're going to go into this weekend's game against UAB here.
The Blazers.
The Blazers versus the Gamecocks here at Williams-Brice this Saturday at 7 o'clock. Hunter.
Alyssa.
What do you expect from the Gamecocks this weekend, and what do you expect from UAB?
I expect it to be a little more tough for the fans to stay in their seats because it's going to be a blowout. Probably worse than it was last week against ECU, and the fans didn't stick around for that one, so I don't know if they'll stick around for this one, but that's a shame.
Well, I know Spurrier had some comments about the student section specifically. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a disappointment. As a student, I was disappointed to see everybody leaving. I mean, I understand it's hot, but put you some sunscreen on, get some drinks,
water.
Yeah, and you're good. And it was, he said at halftime, he turned and looked, and they were only up 21-0, and ECU very easily could have come back and won, but more than half the student section was gone.
Right.
And, he cracked a joke, but it's kind of not a joke that, the party can wait.
Yeah.
And it just kind of seemed like students had better things to do.
Right.
And this week, it's I believe it's a 7:21 kickoff. We'll call it 7. It's a 7 o'clock game, so there's no excuse. It's not going to be hot. So if you leave early, then I have no respect for you, to be honest.
And, stick around for your fellow Gamecock players. The football
Yeah.
players, they're your fellow
They
students.
thrive
So
off of
support
you.
them.
If anybody was here for the Alabama game 2 years ago when they were #1, everybody was there. Everybody was having fun. It was the #1 team. It's kind of different, but still, the atmosphere when you have a full student section is amazing.
Electric.
It is amazing. Nothing compares to it.
Right. Well, going into the game more specifically, What do I need to know about UAB, about UAB's team? Any specific things in general?
Well, they lost to Troy their first week. They had a bye week, which the fact that they had a bye week could play into Carolina's favor.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things could play into Carolina's favor, specifically the talent level. But they're coming off a bye week. They didn't play. They lost to Troy, which is a team that's pretty historically bad.
Right.
Their quarterback is a bright spot. Jonathan Perry, he threw for 317 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't know much about Troy's defense, their secondary. I don't know if that's a great thing or if it's, I mean, it's good.
Right.
Like, you can't say that throwing for 300 yards isn't good, but I don't know
true.
how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
But so I would be on the lookout for him. Hopefully our secondary is, going to play as good as they did. I mean, we had 4 picks. So I'd be on the lookout for Jonathan Perry. Remember that, fans. Jonathan Perry. He's talented.
And specifically for the Gamecocks, what are you looking out of offense, defense? Who are you expecting a big game out of? Who's going to be the difference maker this weekend?
It depends on if Connor Shaw starts. If he starts, Lattimore will have a big game. If Dylan Thompson starts, then Dylan Thompson and the wide receivers will have a big game.
Right.
UAB runs a little different style of defense, but it's still not up to par. I still think we'll be able to throw as easily as we did against the ECU secondary. I don't mean to bash ECU, but it is what it is. I don't mean to bash them because I have some friends that go up there. But I think Busta will have a good game again.
I would agree.
He's a rising star. He's special. He's got size, strength, and amazing hands.
Definitely.
I think I've said this before. I like to see a tight end have a good game.
Right.
And he'll have a good game. I'd like to see Justice get, a couple receptions in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to have a receiver have a 100-yard receiving game.
Right.
We haven't had that yet. It's because we've been spreading it out, which is just as fine.
Right.
I mean, a W is a W. Nobody's going to complain if we win.
True.
But I'm just the type of person, I guess it's old school, where I like to have somebody who's our go-to receiver. We haven't found that person yet.
Well, hopefully we will find that person this
Yes.
weekend and see who can have that big game
Yeah.
for us. But to wrap it up, what is your prediction for this weekend?
Oh,
Who's
man.
going to take the win? What will the score be even? Go that
So
far?
that's the thing is I want to say you're putting me on the spot, but I should have known you would do this because we do it every week.
Very true.
But no, as a student here, I want to say we're going to shut them out, but I doubt we will, just because, we'll have our third stringers and fourth string and fifth string if we have a fifth string in there. And so I'll say we'll definitely break 50. I think we could break 60. But
And so you're taking the Gamecocks for the win.
yeah. Oh, no.
No upset alert
No.
here.
Yeah, I'm taking the Gamecocks for the win. I think it'll be, let's go with 55-10.
Okay.
It's a nice
All right.
even number.
Sure, that works. I myself is going to agree, of course, that the Gamecocks will take the game, but I was going to go more along the lines of 50-7. I was only going to give them 1 touchdown.
Yeah, well, I think,
One score.
I think they'll sneak another field goal. They'll sneak a field goal in there
They could.
somewhere,
They could.
I was just saying,
Maybe when the second string for the Gamecocks comes in.
Yeah, they'll just drive down and just kick the ball.
Kick
I
one.
mean, come on. It's a field goal.
Well, we will be awaiting the results this coming Saturday. Make sure you guys tune in next week where we will break down the UAB game and look ahead to the game upcoming for next week. Thank you for tuning in to Capital City Sports. I'm Alyssa Lang. This is Hunter Banks. We will see you next week.
That's all for this week. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out any more of our footage, go online to sgtv.sc.edu. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at CCS Staff and like us on Facebook. Just search SGTV. For all of us here at Capital City Sports, I'm Pat Clowney. Have a great day, Carolina.